Wherever you may be, however you may be, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the All Cardinals podcast. For Richie Bradshaw, I am Donnie Druin, here to break down everything Arizona Cardinals. Today, we'll be going over the New England Patriots matchup on Monday Night Football right here in Glendale for State Farm Stadium. But before we do, Richie, how are you, my man?
I'm pretty good, buddy. Tired and running around crazy right now with everything that's happening with Arizona State, but obviously the Cardinals are coming off a bye week. They should be kind of feeling themselves and hopefully can get back in that win column again.
Yeah, I was going to say Arizona State. A lot of stuff going on in the transfer portal. I mean, the basketball
Yes.
program's looking pretty damn good. So you're definitely a busy guy.
It's a good time to be a Sun Devil fan right now, and it's an even better time to be in the media for the Sun Devils.
Exactly. Whenever you can combine the best of both worlds, can't really complain about that. We kind of teased it already. The Patriots are coming here on Monday Night Football to play the Cardinals, and we will dive into that matchup a little bit later. But right before we started recording, probably an hour or so prior, I came across something, and I just felt like we just had to talk about it because, Richie, so many people within the Cardinals fan base and even the media are so quick to blame guys like Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, perhaps rightfully so, right? I mean, they're the head coach, they're the quarterback, they are paid hefty amounts of money that people like you and I will never, ever touch in our lifetime. So, it's expected they produce. And you do see guys like Steve Keim kind of have their name thrown around in the ring a little bit whenever it comes to the whose fault it is conversations. But I feel like Keim is never really at the forefront of those conversations. Although, quick shout out to my guy, James Out West. Phenomenal dude. Tremendous. I enjoy every single interaction that we have, and I hope to see him at a Suns game relatively soon. Go ahead and check him out. Great live radio. I mean, Thursday night's broadcast was just hilarious. But Steve Keim never really kind of gets that onus, right? That responsibility of this is your fault for where the Cardinals are at right now. And Jordan Schultz, NFL insider for This Score, actually wrote an article today going through different head coaching situations around the National Football League. And whenever he came across the Arizona Cardinals and Cliff Kingsbury, because surely it is of topic for the national people, the conversation never really steered towards Cliff Kingsbury, but more so towards general manager Steve Keim. And you can see it up here on the screen right here. Some heavy criticism from an anonymous longtime personnel staffer to at Schultz_report. Quote, Keim's a fan. He's been able to keep that job because of his relationship with Bidwell, but he's not a football savant or football mind. He's not a leader. Very strong words for somebody who works under Steve Keim. And Richie, it is my belief that the Cardinals do not have this massive personnel grouping. So, I mean, there's a select few number of people this could possibly be. Like, he didn't really take the hammer at Keim, but damn,
Dude, that's right off the top belt or the top rope. And absolutely showing no mercy. Exactly. Classy, nasty. All the blame goes to Steve Keim, according to this guy. And this is something that I feel we've kind of gotten washed up in with the Cliff needs to go stuff. Is Keim also should be on a very short leash. He has been the general manager. This was season number 10 for him. He took over in 2013. So he had 10 seasons under his belt. He's been to the playoffs 3 times, maybe 4, and they are just not a good team that routinely, at least. They've had pretty good teams. That 2015 roster was studly, but this is still a franchise that should be able to compete. We're not talking about the Jaguars or anything like that. This is an organization that has seen success before and seen success recently, but Steve Keim's inability to consistently nail draft classes has held the Cardinals back. Everyone is really happy that Kyler Murray was available with the number 1 pick because a year prior, not only did they draft Josh Rosen, but they traded up for Josh Rosen in the first round. I don't know if I've ever seen another general manager get a second shot at a quarterback in back-to-back years the way that Keim did.
Quarterbacks.
Yep. James Out West. I personally like Keim. The roster isn't entirely at fault. A lot of it has to do with execution, but ultimately it falls on the head coach and quarterback. Can totally agree with you there. Steve is not that great of a GM. Arturo Carrasco says. I hope I pronounced your last name right. I apologize if I did not, Arturo. A lot of the roster building, though, has come down to Steve Keim, and there's been 3 head coaches that have been there in his tenure. You've had Bruce Arians. You've had who's there right now? Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliff. And then they had Wilkes
Steve Wilkes. Yeah. Yep. And they just don't do very good roster building. John Counts nailed it perfectly. You need to be able to draft well and build a sustainable team, and Keim fails to do that. He does. You can pick out like his first few draft classes. Like 2013, you were able to pull Tyrann Mathieu. Not much else from that class was really great. Jonathan Cooper,
he fell.
Big bust. Yes. Yep. 2014, Dale Buchanan was like an underrated stud for them, and they were able to get John Brown in that class as well. 2015, they got DJ Humphreys and not much else. The rest of their draft classes, very underwhelming. Robert Kimdichie was their pick in 2016. Chris Jones went 5 picks after him. You think they
had no idea how to use Hassan Reddick?
No idea how to use Hassan Reddick. Yeah. And then they whiffed on Josh Rosen in 2018. They nailed Kyler Murray, but that's hard to screw up when you have a talent as good as him available to you with the number 1 pick. 2020 was Isaiah Simmons. He's been a bag of mixed results. Zaven Collins has been underwhelming. And who's their rookie this year?
So they didn't have a first rounder. They traded
That's
that pick.
Right. Yep. They traded it for Hollywood.
They used their
Trey McBride was their
which is
first
in the second round for Trey McBride when they already had Zach Ertz and Max Williams, who was, to be fair, returning from injury on the roster. And I look at that pick as more of like a try to build for the future kind of thing. But
right.
In every sense of the word, that was a luxury pick. And like for Steve Keim to make a luxury pick when you had glaring holes all across the rest of the roster. Now, granted, you look at a place like edge rusher, right? I mean, Chandler Jones departed in free agency. They drafted Cameron Thomas and Myjai Sanders back-to-back in their 3rd round. Cam Thomas does look pretty solid for like where he is at in his development. Still nothing to write home about just in terms of what he's been able to do production-wise, which is put on film. It's kind of the same with Myjai Sanders, although I feel like Thomas has been a little bit better than Myjai. But look, at the end of the day, man, Steve Keim, his job is to put together the best football team possible, right?
Right.
I feel like he's done a pretty good job of putting the chess pieces on the board. Now, granted, draft classes, very underwhelming. When you look at some of the trades he's made, like an example, like going out and getting Zach Ertz, really good move. Going out and getting Rodney Hudson at the time, really good move. His ability to kind of, even if you want to put like the Marquise Brown trade in there too. I mean, granted, like still probably could have kept that 1st round pick, but I mean, you added another weapon for Kyler Murray. You added another dynamic playmaker behind behind DeAndre Hopkins. Can't really complain about that, but at the end of the day, man, like you still have very, very obvious shortcomings, and where this conversation starts to take a turn a little bit. If you're talking about getting rid of Cliff Kingsbury, are you going to let Steve Keim make his 4th head coach pick? How does that reflect on the general manager when he's picking his 4th head coach? Wouldn't you want him to look in the mirror a little bit before you make another decision like that?
Exactly. At some point, you just got to start looking inward, and it's one of those things where it just everybody was fooled by Robert K. Dude was built like RoboCop. Yeah, Kimdichie was definitely that looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane kind of player. But back to this, like it's you need to look inward at some point and realize that what you're doing from a team building aspect has not been working in 10 years. He will be going into year 11 next year, and his job security feels very good, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. There needs to be a serious fire lit under his seat, and I just doubt that there is.
No, to Arturo's point right here, there was a really conceited effort before, not this offseason, but last offseason, to go and get veteran players who could still kind of somewhat produce. That's why you saw guys like J.J. Watt AJ Green and then the Rodney Hudson trade too kind of come to fruition because they felt like they needed some veteran leadership in the locker room. And now a lot of those younger guys for Arizona have grown in their own shoes, and it's time for them to step up in that role as well. Even whenever you see these declining veterans, even JJ Watt, who I feel like has played very, very good this year, hasn't exactly looked like the superstar defensive end that we have, kind of expected him out to be. I mean, and to hit on Classy Nasty's point, Adrian Wilson, that's at least for Cardinals fan, that's a home run hit right there.
Definitely, man. There's been moves and there's been draft picks that he's made, and there's been the Bruce Arians hire, but he's riding those, and it at some point cannot continue to carry as much weight as it is. Like, you just need to be able to cut bait at some point and realize that this is a situation that's not working and move on to the next step. And I feel like the Cardinals are going to be struggling to move forward until they decide to do that.
I think this reason right here is going to be the reason why Keim and Cliff probably end up back in Arizona for 2023. Injuries. They have been plagued. And look, every NFL team has them. And that's why it's so important to build a 53-man roster that is deep and talented like it's supposed to be, because you are going to accrue injuries, especially over a 17-game season now. Injuries are going to happen. But when you already had D-Hop out for the first 6 weeks of the season, you just every position group, I feel like even at quarterback, you've seen Kyler miss a couple games. They've never really been able to get their footing going. But are you going to use that as the main kind of proprietor, or are you going to look at coaching and say, okay, we are paying you, Cliff Kingsbury, millions of dollars per year to coach. Put those guys, whatever chess pieces you have, in the right position to succeed. And I don't feel like Cliff has done that.
No, I don't think so either. And it's just, I've mentioned this before on this podcast. This team is more talented than their record indicates. I'm not saying this is a Super Bowl team, but they're certainly much better than the 4-8 team that they are. They're underachieving across the board. You have tons of Pro Bowl talents on both sides of the football, and you're just not showing up to games consistently. It falls on the execution from the coaching staff, but at some point you need to start to consider, why isn't this talent working here besides coaching? Like, maybe some of these guys just aren't scheme fits kind of thing. I don't know. But they definitely need more out of Steve Keim than what he's giving them, or they're never going to be able to get to that championship aspirations that the fans deserve.
Dude, 100% agree. And to James at West points right here, Arizona should be a free agent destination. We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier in the week, how whatever potential head coach, let's say they do fire Kingsbury, if you're a head coach, you're looking at Arizona. First of all, beautiful place to live, right?
Yeah, it is.
10 out of 10. Right. Exactly. 10 out of 10 would recommend each and every single time. You have a franchise quarterback who you don't have to worry about paying, who has shown exactly what he can be under the right circumstance. You have what is likely looking like a top 10 pick heading into next year's draft. You do have about 30 free agents that are, you don't really know who's going to come, who's going to go. But other side of the coin, that could probably help you put your fingerprints on the roster a little bit better. And like we talked about on Tuesday, there's talent almost everywhere along the defensive side of the ball. You still need another edge rusher. You need a defensive tackle. You would like a little bit more help at corner. But look, I mean, that Cardinals defense should be a lot better than they're playing like right now.
100%. It's definitely something's going up with the coaching, with the evaluation of being able to plug and play these guys. I don't know what it is, Donnie, but they need to be better than what they are. Just, flat out call a spade a spade.
Could not agree more. Moving on, though, the Patriots are coming to town Monday Night Football. And I think we already kind of made fun of them once for this, but you have to imagine the people at ESPN who wanted that game so badly would have thought this is going to be a much better matchup than we are actually getting. But, I think you look at the Patriots, kind of the same story. They're a very struggling team that probably shouldn't be at 500 right now. But you look at the difference of head coaching. Bill Belichick's on the other side of the coin there. Like you expect much better results no matter who's on the field if you're the Patriots under a guy like Belichick, no?
No, 100%. It's such a weird situation because you have Bill Belichick as the head coach and as the general manager. And this isn't to say that he's a bad general manager by any stretch of the imagination, but I do feel like the Patriots would be a better team if they got themselves somebody who actually could do the general managing position full time and not have to worry about also coaching guys on the field because Matt Patricia is their play caller for offense. Donnie, Matt Patricia was a defensive-minded coach.
He sure is.
He's their offensive coordinator.
Yep.
That is just setting your team up to fail. And there's just so many things that are wrong with the Patriots right now from a personnel standpoint that, once again, similar to the Cardinals, this is a talented team and it should be better than 6-6. I'm not saying this is a Super Bowl team similar to the Cardinals, but it's a team that should be better than what they actually are. And that's got to be frustrating for their fans.
No, undoubtedly. So just kind of taking a look at the injury picture right here. Tomorrow on Saturday, we will get a updated game status since the game will be played on Monday instead of Sunday. But for now, you can kind of look at the injury report, get a feeling of who's probably going to play, who's probably not going to play. Rashad Coward, DNP, both days. DeAndre Hopkins, who was listed with an illness, did not practice on Thursday. It was a closed walkthrough today, but he was estimated as a full participant. Very, very good news for the Cardinals right there. What's not good news is Rondell Moore and Byron Murphy, both DNPs, both days. You kind of left shrugging your shoulders at that. You'd love to have both available, but a little fantasy football nugget for everybody out there. If he's not able to go, and I'm talking about Rondell Moore, pick up Greg Dortch immediately, wherever you can, because Rondell, it's looking like he's not going to play. Greg Dortch, full participant with a thumb injury both Thursday and Friday. Dortch, the last time he substituted for Moore, had over 100 yards against the San Francisco 49ers, was only behind Marquise Brown in receptions and receiving yards the first 3 weeks of the season, which includes that huge breakout game Hollywood had. I feel like Dortch is going to be in for another big week. But kind of flipping over to the Patriots side of the injury report, Richie, there's a lot of big names out there. I mean, we're talking Jacoby Myers, who's been a very underrated guy for them, Jalen Mills, Isaiah Wynn, Trent Brown, who went from DNP to limited today, which is good for them. But I mean, they're certainly kind of, 50-50 heading to this game too.
No, and they've got big injuries that they're worrying about. Trent Brown is big. Yanni Kajust has been one of their starting tackles this year, I believe. If not, he's gotten some serious time. Damian Harris, he's been too banged up this year, and Ramondre Stevenson has taken over for him. Jacoby Myers might be their number one receiver because Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar and Devontae Parker are guys. Jalen Mills is the starting corner for them, Donnie. He starts across from Jonathan Jones. That's a big loss for them, and Isaiah Wynn as well. So the Cardinals are hurting, with the potential miss of Byron Murphy for probably the 40th consecutive game or something like that. I'm not keeping track. It's got to be close to 40 at this point, being facetious, obviously. But this is not ideal for the Patriots to have these guys on the injury report. Thankfully for both the Patriots and the Cardinals, they've got plenty of time between now and Monday night for these guys to get ready and good to go. But those are all incredibly big, important names for what they try to do.
No, undoubtedly. Like I said, game statuses will be released officially on tomorrow, which is Saturday. And then obviously the inactives will be released in 90 minutes prior to game time on Monday night. So keep an eye out for that. And Rich, I really like how you talked about Matt Patricia being a defensive guy calling plays, because when reporters spoke with Arizona Cardinals defensive coordinator Vance Joseph, he kind of highlighted that aspect and not really in a flattering way. I don't know if he actually meant for this to be what he meant it to be, but us in the media, right? Like, we're just going to run with everything possible. We're going to make everybody out to be the bad guy. So this is Vance Joseph and what he had to say on the Patriots offense ran by Matt Patricia.
I see an offense that's running the football well. It's a very conservative pass game. Lots of screens, a ton of screens. It's like a defensive guy's calling offense. It's how a defensive guy will call offensive plays, right? Let's not turn the ball over. Let's let's get 4 yards of play and try to burn clock, and that's what they're doing. That's what he's going to do on Monday night. He's going to be patient. Maybe take a shot here, from time to time, but for the most part, it's running game, it's quick game, and it's screens. So
it's like a defensive guy is calling plays. And you saw the smirk on his face and you saw the body language. He knew exactly what he was doing and exactly what he is saying. I believe I read a stat to where after week 9, the Patriots offense ranks 31st in the NFL in scoring per drive and then like expected yards per play or something like that. They have not scored a red zone touchdown since week 9 or week 10. Long story short, very, very abysmal on the New England Patriots side of the ball. They feel like they have a pretty good offense and it's just underperforming to hell, which is a very similar story if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan. So you could definitely relate to that. Is this the week the Patriots can kind of get things sorted out?
They're going to be hoping so, because they've just got to get something figured out, man. And I wrote about this earlier in the week, so you guys will have to check this out. So this is a good opportunity for the Cardinals defense to get some of its mojo back because the offense is so abysmal for them. But at the same time, this could flip the script, be a great opportunity for the Patriots to get things back on track because the Cardinals defense has not been good this year. So something's got to break between one of these two. Will it be the stoppable force or the movable object? It's definitely not an unstoppable force or an immovable object. One of them is going to get absolutely derailed in this game. Hopefully it's the good guys, which is the Cardinals, definitely not the Patriots. But this is a great opportunity for both teams to really build some confidence and get back on track to what these teams know they like to do successfully. Cardinals got to step it up because Mac Jones hasn't played well this year, but Ramondre Stevenson has. And the Cardinals are just, you can't take this team lightly, I guess.
No, I feel like you can't take any Bill Belichick coach team lightly. And it was just a couple of weeks ago, too, where Kendrick Bourne, I think, called out either the play calling or like the scheme in New England and just said they weren't simply doing enough. So, I mean, people want to talk about Kyler and all of the stuff going on with him on the sideline. I mean, everything's not exactly sunshine and rainbows over in New England at Gillette Stadium. I think it's still Gillette Stadium. I'm not quite sure, but I don't know, man. We watched the Cardinals defense propel these guys in the first half of the season. And then during the last 6 games, they've allowed 29 points per game. I think just a little bit over that. A little under 30 points per game the last 6 weeks. It feels like they can't get a stop whenever they absolutely need it. For me, this game's going to come down to coaching. And I know it's very cliche, but dude, everybody talks about the Cardinals coming off of a bye week, coming off an extended period of rest, having a little bit of extra time to work and kind of find out the holes and, where they can attack a Bill Belichick-led Patriots team. New England's also coming off a little bit of rest, playing on that Thursday night game too. I trust Bill Belichick more than I trust Cliff Kingsbury. And that you would... To be fair, that logic should apply to every matchup, but the Patriots are also 6-6.
Right.
And there's a reason for that, right?
Yeah. 100%.
I don't know. It's tough. It feels like exactly like you said, something's going to give on Monday night. I'm just not so certain that it's going to be what people want it to be.
Like I said, I'm rooting for the good guys in this game. I certainly hope that the Cardinals are able to get back on track, get their mojo flowing again. For what it's worth, Cardinal fans, you haven't lost 3 games in a row this year. You are coming off a 2-game losing streak with a, quite frankly, again, call a spade, embarrassing loss to the Chargers. And you've had a week to stew on it and be mad and get prepared for this game. I'm expecting the Cardinals to come out and perform well in this game, but I've been wrong many a times before.
No, and you would hope with the bye week, on top of the extra day with them playing on Monday night, you would hope they really got their stuff together. And, dude, they better come out looking good because if they do not, there's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of booing there at State Farm Stadium on Monday Night Football.
Hopefully
I don't know,
more
man.
Cardinal fans and Patriot fans.
Yeah, It wasn't like that because usually the other team's fans invade State Farm Stadium, but
Yeah.
it wasn't really like that for the Chargers game. But then I remembered Charger fans don't really exist.
LA, yeah.
Yeah, at least in LA. Shout out to everybody in San Diego. My heart aches for you guys. Sorry.
Yep. Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. T's and P's, baby. But flipping this back to the Cardinals Patriots matchup and kind of shifting over to the offensive side of the ball, there's no reason for the Cardinals to come out looking bad, right? I mean, this Patriots defense is not by any means elite or strong. I mean, I think they're middle of the road in most defensive categories whenever you do look. They do have very, very good players, Matthew Judon obviously being one of them. The Cardinals are not going to get back the likes of Rodney Hudson or Will Hernandez this week. Rashad Coward obviously being a DNP on both days, not looking good for him either. You're missing 4 out of 5 starting linemen, but I feel like other than that, you are looking fairly strong. But like I said earlier, man, like you need to come out with that extended period of time and you need to look like the offense everybody hoped and believed you would be to begin the season.
You are going to be as close to 100% on the offensive side of the ball as you have been all year. You've got Nuke, you've got Hollywood, you've got Kyler, you've got James Conner. That's more than enough for 99.9% of NFL teams to be able to put up points. So there really just can't be any excuses in this game. I understand New England is a good defense and they've got some great players, and Lord knows that Kyler Murray is going to be checking to see where number 9 is at all times because Matthew Judon is, I believe, 2nd or 3rd in the league in sacks right now. So they're going to be keeping an eye out for him, but they still need to be able to execute and put stuff together in this game.
No, for sure. James Conner, who rushed for over 100 yards the last time we saw the Cardinals on the field, on top of a healthy Kyler Murray, who should be at 100% now if he wasn't already with the hamstring injury. And then you have Hopkins and Marquise Brown at minimum heading to this week. Hopefully you get either Rondell or Greg Dortch out there too. Really no excuses. Now, I know Zach Ertz isn't in the picture right now, and Trey McBride has not exactly filled those shoes up to this point. Really no excuses. Really no excuses at all. I don't know. This feels like a 20-17 kind of game. I don't think this is going to be super high scoring. I don't have any hopes and expectations of that. I forgot to look up the over-under right before we started recording, but I'd be willing to bet it's probably around like 40, something like that.
Let me check with my good friends over at BetOnline where the game starts.
Nice little shout out for them off the Locked On podcast, huh?
Exactly.
You better get paid off this.
I better. I'll let them know just to like throw it in my account or something. It is. Well, I went way ahead. That's probably why I didn't see it.
Probably.
You know what? We're just going to do control. There we go. The over under is set at 43.5. The Patriots are a 1-point favorite. In other words, it's a pick 'em.
It's a pick 'em. It's a pick 'em. So, Richie.
Donnie.
Pick this football game. Who do you think is going to win?
I'm taking the Cardinals. I have not. The Cardinals haven't lost 3 games in a row this year. They should be incredibly pissed off from the way that they performed in their last game before going on bye week. And then they went on bye week and have all this time to hopefully put together a good game plan, execute, and catch a Patriots team that's starting to slump when they need to be excelling right now. I think at the end of the day, as bad an offensive play caller as Cliff has been this year, Matt Patricia has been 10 times worse. And if the Cardinals, like you said, are able to win a 15-14 game, I can see it. I will take the Cardinals in this game.
Okay.
I'll also take the under.
Yeah, I'll take the under regardless. I just feel like as much as I do want to take the Cardinals, I just can't trust them right now. I need to see it with my own eyes that this is the football team everybody expected them to be whenever they first took the field in 2022. And like you said, this is about as close to 100% of an offense that they have seen. Granted, the offensive line, that's entirely another issue, an entirely very important issue for them to do and for them to adjust and hopefully get healthy sooner rather than later. But you kind of you play with what you got. And, the Cardinals have a lot of weapons. Kyler Murray has a lot of athleticism to run around the guys leaking through the offensive line and make something happen. And to be fair, James Conner did rush for over 100 yards behind that offensive line, so they shouldn't be too entirely bad, right? I mean, they get paid too, along with the starters in front of them, question mark.
I assume so.
Yeah, you'd hope so. I would really like to say the Cardinals are going to win because, like you said, this is a time where the Patriots are not looking like the typical New England Patriots we have known them to be. Mac Jones looks to have regressed from
Who?
last year to Mac Jones has looked to not play as great as he did during his rookie season. Chalked it up to Matt Patricia being his offensive coordinator. Chalked it up to defenses figuring him out. Either way, it's Vance Joseph believes that this is a very simple, no nonsense, check it down, keep it short kind of offense. You had better believed he's going to pull the trigger and be even more aggressive than he already is right now. Will that come back to bite them? I don't really know, but for now, I just got to lean with the Patriots on this one. I'll stick with my original prediction. Give me 20-17 Patriots.
For a score, you know what? I'll take the same score just in favor of the Cardinals, 20-17.
James out west calling it right now, 34-31 Cards walk-up. I can't say that'd be terrible for content, so you know what? I'm going to root for that. And then Classy Nasty checking us out here. Go Cards with the flex and crying emoji. Go Cards indeed.
Go flex.
I love Kanye.
Oh, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. All right, we are going to skedaddle out of here. The next time you see our pretty faces, we will be talking to you guys after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when New England Patriots Monday Night Football matchup. And do not forget, we are giving away 4 different gifts for the holidays. Woo! 2 $25 NFLshop.com gift cards, a white Arizona Cardinals mini helmet right here, and a signed Buda Baker jersey. All you need to do is go back to the last video that we posted. I think it's titled Holiday Giveaway, like that. Make sure you're subscribed. Go subscribe. Sorry, I was reading James out west comment right here. Go subscribe, comment on the video below, and then we'll be giving it out sometime next week, and I will reach out to all the winners. Guys, thank you so much for checking out the All Cardinals podcast. For more Arizona Cardinals news, analysis, insight, and more, at theallcardinals.com. For Richie Bradshaw, I am Donnie Druin, and we will see you guys